Good afternoon. My name is Dino Bravo, and I am an adult film actor here in Porn Valley. And basically, to make a long story short, the way I got into this business was a fluke. I was desperate for money, and I was approached by someone. And at the time, originally, I didn't want to do it. And, after looking at finances and where I was headed, I gave this individual a call back, and then they gave me a break about another month later. Uh, Again, long story short, one job kind of led to the next. I kind of bogarted my way in. I did a couple of acting roles. I've done things like hold the lights and move what's known as a production assistant, where I helped, move furniture around on sets and stuff like that. And maybe a guy would come in and he couldn't perform, or he wasn't ready, or a guy didn't show up, or he didn't have his AIDS test. And I always had my test, and I was ready to go. And then they'd be like, Dino, get in there, jump in there, Dino Bravo. And that's basically how I kind of got started. But it was a very slow start. My first 9 months to a year, it didn't start taking off till after a year as far as getting work. And, I enjoy very much what I do. I have to say that it's very honest work. It's the most honest, sincere work that I've ever had in my life. I work in front of a camera. I can't hide anything. And when I'm done, 90% of the time, they write me a check right then and there. Aside from the fact, if it's a big company, then they'll use payroll or something to that nature. Um, but if you had told me, I've been doing this 5.5 years, so if you had told me 6 years ago that I would be taking my clothes off for a living and doing this, I would have told you to your face, you're fucking crazy. But you take certain paths in life, and it just kind of happened, and here I am, and I'm content, and things are definitely going well for me. I have no complaints. I'm not living in Iraq or Afghanistan. I'm not ducking every morning when I come out of my house, so I can't complain there.
Let's let this other plane go
Okay. No, anyway, but you're going to start asking questions now, right?
Yeah.
That was the intro. Okay.
Yeah.
So whenever you're ready, you shoot, and I'll give you as honest as I can get.
Let me start with asking you this: is there any porn stars in the business that you just totally don't get along with? Any females that you refuse to work with?
Actually, I've had a couple with the diva attitude, but I'm in doing this business, and I'm a laid-back guy. I have always wanted the person that I'm working with to be happy, and that's the first thing I tell the girl before the lights go up and they're in makeup. I say, look, honey, the people are watching these movies because of you. You're the pretty one. I'm just the prop to kind of make the cycle go. I mean, it takes two to tango, but they're there to watch the girls. Pornography, let's be honest, is watched by guys. Not too many women are going into adult bookstores or ordering porn off the internet. It's guys. So I always tell the woman that I'm working with that I want them to be happy. And I tell them, we're gonna fuck hard and do a hot scene. I want hot, steamy sex. But I want them first and foremost to be happy, because it makes for a way better scene. And then, they request me sometimes afterwards because they like working with me. So I would never be a jerk to them.
What is your opinion of the drug abuse in the porn industry?
Well, unfortunately, in LA, there's drug abuse everywhere. Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago, New York, Houston. So there's drug abuse, everywhere. So as far as LA goes, or the globe, it's there. As far as this business, unfortunately, there are a lot of lost souls in this business. I'm far from perfect, and I've never been one to put myself above people. But yes, the some of the women that come through this business have had pretty abusive lives. Let's just say they weren't sheltered too much. They had abusive fathers, mothers, whether they were verbally or physically assaulted, abused. A lot of them were runaways, 12, 14 years old, doing hooking and doing whatever they could do to survive off the streets. To survive as far as in the concrete jungle in the city. Which sometimes I tip my hat to them. But unfortunately, yes, there is a problem with drug abuse, and I don't know if it's an escape or if it's just because of the backgrounds that some of these people come from and the lives that they've led. But really, in all sincerity,
You can just pick it up back from there.
right, I'll just, from what backgrounds they've come from. I mean, and I was gonna say in all sincerity, I was done really. I was just gonna say in all sincerity. I was just gonna say in all sincerity, DEA would have a field day in this business. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know. Where's this going on? Public television or something?
No, a DVD, and well, depending on the quality of it when it's finished, we are gonna try and pitch it out to like a station.
HBO or something.
That's like the dream to get it onto that, but all of my productions have been on DVD. I have some stuff in the stores.
Yeah. In fact, I want to give you my number so you can give me a copy.
Yeah. Oh, I got it on the forum if you gave it to me.
Yeah, I'll give you a card too.
All right. So yeah, if you want to just finish off where you're going with that.
All right, I'm finishing up the drug statement, so okay. And, in all sincerity, in all sincerity, if the DEA came through and swept the business clean, they probably have a field day. I mean, there is, unfortunately, a lot of substance abuse.
Like, what drugs have you seen on sets or that, the girls are on?
Well, methamphetamines are very popular amongst the girls. Obviously cocaine, grass. I'm sure other types of. Well, I'll tell you what's very popular with the girls that take it up the ass is your painkillers, your Vicodin, your Xanax, Demerol, and rightfully so in a way. I mean, I don't think they should be abused, but a lot of these girls they perform in these. It's not so much about becoming a star because they're sexual animals and they're freaks. It's about the money. Some of these girls, they're single parents, so they can either go and they can take it up the ass for $900 in say 3-4 hours of their day, or they could go and work for nigger wages, and make $900 in 3 weeks, work somewhere for $300 a week. So I mean, a lot of it, and that's the same with myself. I mean, it's economics. I really don't see anything wrong with this business, especially when you talk economics. When you pick up the newspaper every damn day and you're seeing, so and so to lay off 5,000, so and so to cut back 2,400 jobs, or some people are cutting benefits just to keep their jobs. So I mean, a lot of it is economics, and especially if these girls are single parents and they're trying to make it in this world, I see no problem with it, because who's going to pay their bills? I don't see the Rockefellers and Bill Gates helping them pay their bills, so they have to do what they have to do to survive. We're all dealt a deck of cards, or how can you say, we're dealt a hand of cards in life, and you play those cards at the table the best you can. So from where a lot of these people come, their backgrounds, if this makes sense, but from their backgrounds, they're doing the damn best that they can with the deck of cards that they were dealt, whether they were abused or molested or assaulted, runaways, like I say, dysfunctional backgrounds. They do the best they can. So aside from the drugs, which I don't agree with, but it's there, and it's just not in this business. It's in mainstream Hollywood. In fact, the two top professions with drug and substance abuse, alcohol and substance abuse, is law enforcement and doctors. So, it is out there. Lawyers, business people. It's just more than this business. But yes, it is bad in this business, the drug abuse. It's good timing,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't just rip my industry, dude. It is bad. I'll say that. I'm just a horny son of a bitch, Beautiful girl. Jesus God Almighty, look at her.
Yeah, she's what's the story
Are we
like?
rolling or?
Huh?
Okay, so the plane's still going. Are we rolling or?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The story here today, like you guys were supposed to do a DP scene, I believe. Like, can you tell us the story, like what the scene you're supposed to do, and the other performer, like he has a problem. Can you explain the story behind this?
Sure. Actually, I'm supposed to play a sexual therapist, and he's coming in with his wife to, make do, get some counseling, and obviously it's going to be a 3-way sex scene. What's going on right now while we're in limbo waiting is every 30 days you must be tested for excuse me, you must be tested for sexually transmitted diseases, HIV, chlamydia, gonorrhea. He took a test. The results are pending, so they haven't been back from the lab yet. We're waiting for those results. If he comes back clean, we do the scene. If they don't come back by the end of business hours, California time, I may just be the counselor therapist, and she'll come to me seeking counseling, and it might just end up being a boy-girl scene. So, we'll see how the story unfolds here as we go along.
What is like the biggest challenge for you as a performer?
Actually, believe it or not, the biggest challenge for me would be that's a good question. I mean, I guess since I've been doing it now, and I'm I guess doing the challenge is having sex in difficult places, like on cliffs, outdoors. I've done a scene on one of these chairs before, like a lounge chair. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world. So for everyone at home that's watching, when you see a product, everyone, mainly guys, oh, I can do that, I can do that. You're seeing a 22-minute edited sex scene that might take 2 hours to shoot. It's not, people don't have sex on countertops. I never had sex on a kitchen countertop or a chase lounge like this until I got into this business, or on rocks and stuff outdoors, or on a blanket, like having a picnic. So it's not as easy as it looks, and not just for the guys either, for the girls. I mean, the positions are not that comfortable. The whole reason for these cockeyed positions is it's a visual aid. It's pornographic, and you have to physically, the camera's got to be right up on the genitalia. That's the whole idea. So, I mean, I'm having sex with one leg up in the air, or one leg spread way out, and I got a guy with a light under my balls. So, I mean, as far as challenges, I've kind of always been a focused person. It's funny how I got into this business, because I've always said now that that this business is kind of right for me. I mean, I've had a lot of dead-end jobs prior to this where I was stepped on, squished. In other words, trying to get ahead. Because a lot of guys will about, pressure and what's your biggest challenge. To me, it is, I mean, most guys, you have a woman stimulate you. I mean, you're gonna get an erection. We're human beings. You get stimulated by a woman. I mean, that's why, I guess, kind of, why we're both here. You look at the world, there's 6 billion people in the world, and we all got here from sex. So if a woman starts stroking your cock, you're going to get stimulated. But as far as this challenging and how I prep for this, or I guess, how could I say, how, people ask me that aren't in the business, or cameramen, or people off the sets, how do you do it, or how do you ejaculate when they tell you to? Isn't that pressure? Isn't it hard to do? And again, it is not as easy as it looks. But as far as you want pressure, I was a straight commission salesman before I got into this business. That means if I didn't sell, I didn't eat. So you want pressure, go 2 weeks without a paycheck. That's pressure. Jerking off in front of 10, 12 people is nothing, or even 30 people on a movie set is nothing. I mean, to me, that's not pressure. Not getting a paycheck for 2 weeks is pressure. You have to remember that the way I view things is what I'm doing in front of a camera, people do behind closed doors. Again, look around the world. There's 6 billion people. We all got here from sexuality. So everything that I'm doing in front of a camera, people do. They suck on women's tits. Women go down on guys. I mean, it's the oldest profession in the book, I guess, is prostitution. So, I guess, as far as challenging, I've had a hell of a lot more challenging things cross paths with me than jerking off in front of 30 people on some girl's chest, or, not keeping it up. We all have bad days, but, my successes outweigh my failures, obviously. I wouldn't be doing this 5.5 years.
I think another one's coming right now.
Yeah, it is. Might be going away, though. It kind of...
We'll try and squeeze another question really quick. How are the diseases in the business, and have you been affected by the diseases?
Actually, they are out there, but starting with, obviously, the one that everyone gets afraid of, known as HIV, or acquired immune deficiency syndrome. It is very, very difficult, people. The old saying, with ignorance comes fear. If you know the facts and figures, it is very, very difficult for a man to catch HIV from a woman. It is, I mean, it's like my odds of winning the lottery are greater. And by the way, I just bought 2 tickets the other day. But I mean, getting struck by lightning or attacked by a shark in the ocean are probably greater than catching the HIV virus. It's very difficult to catch. It is out there, though. As far as other STDs like chlamydia, gonorrhea, and herpes, again, you have to know your partner. You know, I speak to the girls before. You know, I mean, you know, I work with them, and I mean, I'm a very clean person. If you can see my nails, I don't like dirt. You know, I don't have any dirt in my nails here. I'm a very clean person. In 5.5 years, I've caught something one time. I caught chlamydia, and I didn't even know I had it. Chlamydia is a very common urinary tract infection, to my knowledge. So I have had something once in 5.5 years, and I didn't even know I had it. Another reason why I don't catch too many things is, number one, I'm circumcised. I noticed that guys that are not circumcised in the business catch things because bacteria and dirt can stay trapped within the foreskin. Also, I do not participate in gangbangs, which are like 5, 6 guys with 8 guys with 1 girl. You know, I don't work with more than, unless it's 2 guys. And if I find out I'm working with another guy in a boy-girl scene, I make sure I know who the guy is, and he's a pretty clean guy. But for the most part, I mean, the people in this industry, we are very clean people because of what we do for a living. This is our livelihood. So you take it up a couple notches as far as your awareness, and the old saying, you know, an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. Once I'm through with the scene, I'm washing, scrubbing, I'm cleaning myself with Comet and a Brillo pad. I mean, I'm obviously exaggerating that I'm cleaning myself with bleach, but you know what I mean. I'm a very clean person. I wash, I urinate after the scene in case there is any bacteria in there. I also have a diet that's high in antioxidants, vitamin C. I mean, I eat lemons raw. I do a lot of things with whole foods. So I mean, I'm pretty on top of things as far as my livelihood. It's like an athlete, a professional athlete, a triathlon. He's going to eat the right foods. He's going to train every day. You know, I mean, same thing. You know, baseball player, he's in that batting cage taking batting practice. Well, I'm up and keen to what's going on around me.
What like, what's a question that you would ask, just out of curiosity? What's something you would ask if you were doing a documentary?
A question that I would ask.
I always ask that to everybody.
A question that I would ask is I would just make a statement, the phenomenon with this business, of how big of a business it is, of how underground it is, yet it sells billions. I would just make a statement, you know, and I would thank people because it's how I make my living, to keep watching. I mean, to be honest, if they're looking for me, I'm not, you know, so I'll just go into that. How's that sound?
That's cool. Yeah, like, how big is this business?
Well, this business, if you take all of the adult, not just the videos and the DVDs, but if you take the stripping industry, you know, like strip clubs, dance clubs, escorting, and so on, the adult industry itself is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. It grosses more than all of the 4 major sports combined, the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the NHL. And those are multi-billion-dollar a year businesses, all 4 combined. And adult film does that, you know, the numbers are just incredible. So, I mean, my thing is, if there's any disbelief, because I have to be so sincere with everyone watching, I never really watched that much porn before I got into this business. I knew it was there. You know, I had seen it a few times with friends or bachelor party, whatever. I never really dwelt on it. You know, but, I mean, for all of you that do watch, I thank you, because it's how I make my living, and, you know, it's how I earn my paycheck, so keep watching. And I mean, if anything, I'm amazed at just the phenomenon that this business has. And voyeurs, people watching people having sex for enjoyment, for entertainment. You know, I've always said, you know, Dino Bravo, adult actor or adult performer. And I put on my card that I give out to people that I am a performer or an entertainer, because I'm here to entertain you. You know, I mean, that's the way I really would define it.
Let me ask you, Dino Bravo, that used to be the name of some famous pro wrestler.
Right, but you want to wait?
Named after the pro wrestler, or what?
Actually, it's a funny story. No, I was not. Actually, I didn't realize that there was a pro wrestler named Dino Bravo until after I did not keep up with the wrestling world. But just so everyone in America knows, obviously, we do not use our real names when we perform. They are stage names. And so the name Dino came from because people would tell me, hey, you look like a young Dean Martin. You know, you're kind of like a Dean, you know, you look like a young Dean Martin. And so I didn't want the name Dean. And then I says, oh, Dino, but I just didn't want one name like Prince or Madonna. I wanted something with a ring to it. So Dino, Dean Martin made a movie with John Wayne called Rio Bravo. And that's the honest to God's truth how it came up. Dino, because people said you look like a young Dean Martin, and I like big band music and Frank Sinatra, Bobby Darin kind of music, Dean Martin. And so you know, the Bravo came from the movie Rio Bravo, and it's a pretty good movie. It's like a Western. And really, that's how the name came about. So hopefully you guys will plug me in online and wherever you look for your movies, and you go out and rent a bunch of my movies after you see this interview.
I like Bobby Darin too. I like Beyond the Sea and Mac the Knife. Those was great.
Blue skies smiling at me. Yeah. Guy was a hell of a singer. He was a talent that died too young, you know. So.
What's like the politics of the porn industry? Is there a lot of egos?
Oh man, boy, I tell you, you are correct. Great question. When it comes to the adult industry, there's nothing adult about it. It's a lot of people that never made it out of high school and their mentalities are still there. A lot of people that you deal with in this business are not the sharpest tools in the shed. And I say that, you know, again, not to downgrade anyone or speak like I'm above somebody. But yeah, I mean, Porn Valley, some of the people, it is the bottom of the barrel, man. It's the armpit of America, some of these people. You want to pause for that?
Yeah, we'll start that one over.
Yeah, because I got some other, yeah, you're right, dude. There's so many, you know, I mean, for me, it's an honest living, dude. I really don't get involved with a lot of these people outside of my work. So I'll make that statement where you.
And after that, we can pretty much be all wrapped up.
Yeah.
I can maybe ask you questions later.
All right. Yeah, like how'd the scene go? God, look at her, man. Beautiful woman. I want to lick her fucking ass. Jesus, God almighty.
Alright.
So start with that one over, and I'll give you.
So, like, what's up with the egos and the politics of the porn industry?
Well, like any business, there is politics. You know, directors will hire their friends. Remember that a lot of directors in this business started out where I was as a performer. So naturally, they're going to hire their friends. Some people do have huge egos, but very, very low self-esteem. This is a business with people with huge egos, very, very low self-esteem. I can't make that more clearer. Extremely political, you know, but in any business there is politics. I mean, in politics there's politics, obviously, where the president, you know, appoints his friends to the cabinet. So, you know, it goes on here too, but yes, there are very, very, very insecure, grossly insecure people in this business, and there is nothing adult about the adult industry. There are people that are above what this industry is about, and they treat it like a business. But the reason why you see so many girls come through this business is because there's nothing adult about it, and a lot of these girls are very young, and, you know, they can be manipulated because they're 19, 20 years old, and they'll buy what people say. They'll make 6, 7, 8 movies, and they're gone because of jerks in the industry that don't treat this like a business, and they think it's high school and junior high, and there's just a lot of, you know, there is just a lot of, you know, juvenile attitudes, juvenile delinquent attitudes, and politics involved in this business, which, you know, I mean, if you have 3 hours, I could tell you some great stories, but we'll save that for another interview.
Has there ever been like a bizarre circumstance or situation that you've been in and seen, like maybe like a total, I guess sorts like a blooper of sorts, or like just for an example, I did an interview with Mika Tan recently, and some guy was fucking her and put a dildo in her ass, and she fell off the table. The dildo got stuck so far up her ass, they had to rush to the emergency room and pull it out.
Wow.
Do you have anything like that?
Actually, No, but going back to the last question about people who are juvenile, there's nothing adult about the adult industry and egos. I'm doing a scene, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago. This is right down here off of Mulholland, not far from where we are now. And just jealousy. I'm doing a scene, and like I say, some guys, they just want to fuck you up when you're doing a scene. They want to make you stop and go, because remember, it's not easy what we do. So to make a long story short, they were trying to stop my rhythm, knocking on the window of the room we were shooting in, entering the rooms, making a stop so that I'd lose my erect. Just you know the jealousy ego thing, just insecure, delinquent high school shit. I'm just trying to think if I've seen. It's not that I've really seen anything on set. It's just some of the stories. If I were to write a book, which maybe one day I will, I mean, you wouldn't believe. If I printed this stuff in a book and went to a publisher, they'd say, "Well, this is a fiction book, right?" They wouldn't. They wouldn't believe some of the stories that I've heard they just didn't happen off screen with some of these people. It's just amazing how uh, some of these stories, you wouldn't believe it. I'll save one for another time.
Can you say one of the stories really quick? Like,
Yeah.
a quick one.
Okay. I get a call one night about 1:30, 2:30 in the morning. And this girl calls me up. Dino, man, I need somewhere to crash, blah, blah, blah. I got kicked out. I had been, acquaintances with this girl, so she tells me the story that she got kicked out for no reason. Well, I knew where she was staying, and I knew the guy she was staying with at the house. So I asked her, I knew where she was staying, so I said, she was telling me when she moved in there, she goes, "Oh, I got it so good here, Dino Bravo. Man, I got it great. I'm staying in a guest house, blah, blah, blah. No one's bothering me." She was happy, whatever. I get the call 2:30. She got kicked out for no reason. Can I have somewhere to stay? I said, "No, you can't stay with me, blah, blah, blah." End of discussion. She said she had a little. I said, "Well, what actually?" I said, "What happened?" She said, "Well, I OD'd on my painkillers." She mixed her pain. She didn't say OD. She said, I accidentally mixed my painkillers with some vodka or something, or some, bourbon or something, and she had to get her stomach pumped. So I went back to the person who had the house. And the truth of the story is, because this guy's not on drugs or anything, he told me what happened. He said that she called 911, and when someone calls 911, okay, the way, to my knowledge, that it operates, number one is, you want to wait for the, and I'll start off when someone calls 911.
Yeah.
Now, what happens when you call 911, okay, here's what happens from what I'm watching these, reality television shows. Someone calls 911, number one, there are no block calls on 911. Even if your number appears blocked, for 911, there are no blocked numbers. The number shows up to the dispatcher or to the woman, to whoever the individual is at 911 emergency. Okay? Then that number and that address show up. Do you want me to pause again? Or call 911 emergency. To my knowledge, what happens is, and this is what I've seen on reality television shows, number one, there are no blocked numbers. Even if your number's blocked, it comes to them unblocked. The name shows up on the caller ID and the address. Okay? 911 rushes to the house. She was, to my knowledge, screaming, "Help, help," I drank too much, or I mixed my prescriptions. I don't know what she told them. But the owner of the house had said that she called 911. They went to the house. Okay, the address showed up. They didn't know that she was in the back in the guest house. She's on the phone. "Oh, I'm in the back. I'm in the back." So the guy, the paramedic, 911, he's on the little two-way radio on his shoulder going, "Hey, she's not responding to the front door. We're knocking on the door. We're trying to look in the windows," and he's telling the lady on the dispatch, because remember, he's talking into a microphone. Now she's on a telephone with the victim or with the person that needs the assistance. So to my knowledge, what happened was they couldn't get any response from her. She says, "I'm in the house. I'm in the back of the house. Help me, blah, blah, blah." He's saying he's not getting any response. She says the paramedics are there. She says, "I don't hear them. I don't see them," or something like that. "I can't hear them." So what they did was, because the person had bars on the windows and the doors, the 911 paramedics, they cut the bars off the windows with those big cutters. And they broke in the window, and they, fucked up the whole guy's house looking for her. And then she said, "No, I'm in the back. I'm in the guest house." So apparently she was, they pumped her stomach in time and all that. But I guess the point is, as crazy and fucked up as his story is, the poor guy came home that night at 12 o'clock or whatever, you know, and saw the bars were cut off of his window, the door kicked in, his whole house was fucked up, and the reason being, to my knowledge, is because 9/11 can be sued. If they go somewhere and then somebody is, dies, or they weren't, they didn't get the proper care, they could be sued. So that they have to do that to save someone's life. So this guy comes home, he sees his place is in shambles, is a wreck, probably goes into the back, has an argument with her, and then that's why at midnight, then whatever, they argue for an hour and a half, he throws her shit out on the walk or whatever, and then I get a call at 2 in the morning. I mean, to my knowledge, that's what happened. I mean, it's a fucked up story, and, it's tragic, but yet it is a funny story, Hey, chick calls 911, they show up, can't find her, they break the guy's windows, cut the bars off the windows, and, she's evicted at 2 o'clock that morning, crazy story.
I'll ask you this one last. The federal government's cracking down on porn heavily right now. Like that 2257 law and everything. Like, what's your opinion on like how the government's approaching the porn industry?
Well, I think, unfortunately, that it's too far to the right. I think that what goes on in Washington is the Hippocratic Oath. I am against everything that this administration stands for. I voted for John F. Kerry for president, and I think Americans are now, as we're almost a year now as we interview here, to the day of the election, and regardless of just this industry, this guy just doesn't care, period. I mean, most politicians, whatever the political party, they've got their agendas, the oil companies and big money. But I mean, this administration, they don't care about anybody, anything, and they're being pushed by these Christian, what kills me, the Christian coalition, the moral majority. Come on, we have a president that started a war. He stands for capital punishment and the death penalty, but yet he's against abortion. And what we do is so harmless. What I do for a living is so harmless. When I look at all the scandal in corporate America, I mean, when I see people embezzling millions of dollars, and a poor guy that goes into a job he's had for 30 years, he's whatever, he starts there when he's 25, now he's 55, he goes into a job, walks in one day, and they tell him clear out his desk. I mean, here's a guy who doesn't have a pension now. I mean, for 30 years he worked for those people, and now he's got nothing. What we do is so harmless, it's so honest. And, as far as the government, cracking down on what we do in this 2257 is totally ludicrous. I mean, and when you look at the scandals that have involved.
My tape's gonna end right now. It's gonna go quick.
And as far as the scandals and so on in the rest of the world, I mean, 2257 is just a way to crack down on this industry and make things difficult for those who shoot this